Hello.
Hey everybody.
I think we need to introduce ourselves. We were so animated on our first podcast, we never said who we were. So, do you want to go ahead?
Right. Well, I'm Antoinette McQueenie and I'm based in Leitrim and I have been practicing about actually I don't know, I qualified in 2008 and I treat mostly women hormonal issues, but I do treat a few kids here and there, and I also teach homeopathy. I teach it to mums and I teach it to students and homeopaths. So that is me. Yeah.
Yay. And I'm Grania Flanagan, and my business name is I Am Healing, AYAM. And I qualified in 2019, so I'm the baby. And um, actually, and that's how I met Antoinette. And I work with everything. I'm not fussy, but I do particularly love working with trauma cases, and I um, I love working with women in general across the board. I work with a lot of kids as well, and yeah, anxiety across the board, trauma across the board. But yeah, anything goes with me, which I love. I love the kind of the nuanced weeks that I have as a result of that. So yeah, that's my practice.
You treat a lot of my friends because I don't treat friends. I send them all to you. So they're all like, how's growing, yeah? And that always throws me a bit because you know growing yet? And then they're like, yeah, well, you sent me to her 2 years ago or whatever. But yeah.
And then the worst is then when I'm with you and I meet them, I'm like, how do I know you? Because it's out of context. I'm like, who are you? But anyway, we will be talking about that actually in another podcast, treating
Yeah.
people you know. But today's subject is about how can I afford you? And people, so it was actually, there was a comment on last week's podcast that we did of what if people can't afford your rates? And yeah, do you want to launch into that one, Anto?
Um, I thought it was a brilliant question. And yeah, this person said, what if people can't afford to do courses with you and they can't afford your rates for a consultation? And do you know something? Probably 5, 10 years ago, that would have really thrown me. And
Mm.
I would be like, oh, well, let me see what I can do for you. Let me offer you a discount, or let me do this, or whatever. And now I don't. If people say that to me, can't afford you, I say that's absolutely fine. Um, but I remember myself being in a situation 10, 11 years ago with one of my kids where I had to go and see a lot of people. And she was very, very, uh, she was unwell as she was going through a healing process. But there was money was the last thing I thought about. It was
Yeah.
the very last thing. I wanted the best people to treat her, the people that I got recommendations about, and I made sure I got on their list as quickly as I possibly could. I was working 3 jobs, and my husband would go and sell some stuff, or he'd go and he'd fix someone's computer, or he'd build a PC, and we got the money in, and the money always came in. And I never, that was the, like I said, the last thing I thought about because I was so busy trying to get this child well.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm coming from on it. The money comes in. The
Yeah.
money comes in, and if you can't afford to go to somebody, don't put it on them because
Yes.
it's not their problem.
Exactly. I think because I'm a little bit fresher out than you, I didn't know this happened in the. I think, and I think it's in the self-employed world because I remember talking with my own hairdresser about being shocked about this, and she was like, "Oh no, this happens to me as well. People
Oh,
are in,
really?
yeah, yeah," which was like, what? Because hair to me is getting your hair cut or dyed is a luxury item. So the fact that
Yeah.
people would even barter on that. But what happened to me was somebody actually did start bidding for their appointment, and it was like, and it was
Interesting.
it was it was literally like, what's your rates? And I told them my rates. And I think you're similar. My rates are published on my website. So
Yeah.
it's not a shock or a surprise. It shouldn't be. But I told her what my initial consult was, and she made me a different offer.
I love that.
And like you, I was like, oh, what do I do now? And it's almost like, I think, especially in the holistic world, it's like because we care, we should care enough to take you anyway.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, actually, I care enough to put my electricity bill at a higher premium and to pay that. So it's like, we are ultimately trying to earn livings here. And, it's like, no. So I obviously batted her away. But I do get people who look for a different rate, or it's the other thing is, particularly this time of the year, I think all practitioners experience a lull in their practice over the summer months because people prioritize their summer holidays over their health. And again, there's points where I think that's a good thing to do, because you need a break, particularly when you're working with me for a long period of time. Sometimes it's nice to have a little break over the summer. But some people literally go, oh no, I'm going to spend the money on my holidays instead. Even even though I know I saw that last prescription was starting to help, but I'm going to prioritize my summer holidays instead.
Yeah.
That's fine, but I'm not going to change my rates. Do you know what I mean? My rates are my rates. Um,
Yeah. And I think if people realized how much we agonize over our prices, and every time we have to put our prices up, I haven't put mine up, and this is a heads up to anyone who's listened, I haven't put mine up since 2019. But they're going up this year because they have to, because post has gone up, because remedies have gone up. Every single thing has gone up. I have done so much more training, and my prices are going to reflect that. Um, and coming back to what you said about summer, I think it's such a bad idea to cancel appointments during the summer, because it's when mums especially are under the most pressure, because most of them are working full time. If not full time, they're working part time, and they're keeping the house going. And then they have kids home who constantly need feeding, being brought places, summer camps being organised, the babysitting. And we know ourselves come September, the end of September, because September
yeah,
is
it
kind of a
does.
quiet month. There's a lot of outgoings for school. The end of September, right up to Christmas, women are crawling back to their homeopaths because they're burnt out. They're completely burnt out during the summer. So I would say, instead of cancelling your appointment during the summer, especially for yourself, and people tend to feel a bit better in the summer because the days are longer and whatever, but that's a false feeling of well-being.
Yeah.
Especially, people are sitting out in gardens and they're having a few more drinks and all of that, and they're not realizing until the end of the summer. Whereas if you keep your appointments during the summer, by the time September comes, you're actually in a better position than you
Yeah.
were probably last September, or the September before.
Absolutely. And the other aspect, I love what you said there. Your rates are reflecting your years of experience and the training. So the investment you've put back into your business, i.e. yourself. And your rates should reflect all of that. And
Yeah.
I'm similar to you. I put up my initial consult, I think a year and a half ago, but that's a once-off fee, so it doesn't affect. But my follow-up fee has been the same since 2020. I did separate out a year and a half ago the postage fees, because Onpus kept putting up the rates and it was crippling me.
Yeah.
And I kept absorbing that. But the other aspect, for the people who genuinely we are out of reach of, there are so many other methods and people that they can get access to. So the homeopathy schools do clinics, and there's loads of them all over the place, online and in person. There's newly qualified homeopaths who have different rates to us. There's homeopaths all over the place doing different rates. So I always believe as well, if I'm not the person for you and rates is your reason, there is somebody out there who will be for you. Um,
Yeah.
and it's just, the idea that homeopathy isn't accessible is not true, as far as I'm concerned anyway.
Yeah. And I think as long as you go with the referral, don't just look for the cheapest. Please don't look for the cheapest
Oh,
out there, because you have absolutely no idea what their experience is. And why are they charging that? Are they newly qualified, or maybe they've been qualified 20 years and are only seeing one client a month? That's not what you want. That's not getting value for money.
yeah.
That's wasting money. So
And
just
actually,
make yeah, go
sorry,
on.
I'm cutting across, but that's actually the one thing I do offer free, and I think you do. I'm not sure if you do it. I do the discovery calls, and
I
it is
don't.
You don't do them. So I do them, and it's a free, and it's a chance to try before you buy. And it's not in the sense that I prescribe, but it's that you get to chat with me, you get to see what I'm like. And I always say it's really important to actually suss me out and see, can I talk to this woman? Can I tell her some of my icky stories?
Yeah.
Because otherwise I'm not the person for you. And you really, you know, if people have a website or a social media presence, or they offer discovery calls, or you get a referral, you need to know who it is you're working with.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
100%.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's options, but obviously you and I are brilliant.
Obviously. And yeah, beware of cut price holistic treatments, because you're getting you could be getting cut price experience, cut price prescriptions, anything. Just be very, very wary who you're going
Yeah.
for.
Yeah.
Okay.
That they didn't do that 12-week certified course.
But yeah, but they could have done. They could have done. That's why
Exactly.
you do need to check people out, and you do need get at least one referral. Somebody saying this person was absolutely amazing for me, and then check them out. Take it from there.
Yeah, and that, I think actually 90% of our businesses come from referrals at this
Yeah,
point.
yeah.
So, very
So,
blessed for that
very,
as well.
yeah.
So yeah, we're worth it. And that's our rates. Full stop.
But you said you mentioned your electricity. Like I would never say to, and I'm really surprised that hairdresser said that. I didn't think that was happening, because I would never think of going to a hairdresser and saying what's your best price, or going to, the butcher, what's your best price, or the plumber. I would never ever ever do it. And I think maybe because we're women, we might be getting a little bit more of that. And sometimes people think that this is some kind of God-given gift that we've received, and we shouldn't be charging for it, without realizing the years and years and years of practice and study that's gone
Yeah,
into it.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah. No, to
right.
100% agree.
Okay.
Okay,
Okay. That's it.
till next time.
Bye.
Bye.